My roommates are furious after discovering I own the house they've been paying rent for. They're upset that I've been collecting rent, and now I'm scared it's ruined our friendship. So, I, 18 female, am very lucky in that I have two very hardworking parents who are successful and love me. We aren't mega wealthy, but we're very comfortable as my parents are extremely smart financially. We own multiple houses as part of our real estate portfolio that we rent out for extra income. I recently started college, and as a present for working hard and getting into my dream school, my parents gifted me one of our houses that's near my college. I was going to inherit them all anyway, but I really appreciated their gesture. Where I live, real estate law is a little tricky, and we would have to pay significant taxes to officially transfer the house to me. So we decided to have my parents own it legally for now. The house is pretty big with 4 floors, including a fully furnished basement and a roomy attic, and since it's near my school, I decided to look for roommates so I could start earning money early. So far, I have 2 roommates who we'll call Sasha, 18 female, and Bear, 19 female, who also go to my school. We've been living together for a couple of months now, and we're all pretty good friends and very compatible roommates. This is where I might be the idiot. I didn't want to tell them that I own the house as I thought it might create a weird dynamic between us, and I didn't want them to view me any differently. We split the bills and rent, with me technically paying nothing. Since my father legally owns the house and we have different surnames, I took my mother's last name. They have no idea I own the house or that my dad just sends the money back to me. Sasha recently found the money my dad sent back while I was at class and told Bear, and they cornered me about it a few days ago. I told them everything, and they're mad at me for hiding this from them and think I'm not only in the wrong for keeping it a secret, but for making them pay rent in the first place. The house's mortgage has already been paid off, so the rent goes entirely into my pocket. I responded by saying that they shouldn't have gone through my email in the first place and that it was illegal, which I'll admit was kind of a low blow. We weren't friends when they moved in, and the whole point of me wanting roommates was so that I could earn extra cash, so I don't see why I should let them reside for free. Am I the idiot here? Eddie. We have a system where whoever is home brings all the mail in and puts it on the kitchen island. Bear brought the mail in, but Sasha opened my mail before I got home. My dad doesn't send me straight up cash LOL. He mails 2 checks with the amount Sasha and Bear paid, and when Sasha saw the cheeks from the landlord to me with the exact amount of her and Bear's rent, she put 2 together and interrogated me when I came home. I don't know why she opened my mail in the first place. I've never noticed her snooping before, but maybe she has, and I just never saw. Stop lying to yourself. You are mega wealthy. That said, not the idiot. Your roommates are entitled to think they deserve a place rent-free. Just because you're extremely privileged does not mean they should get to live rent-free, but you are extremely out of touch and tone deaf. Only mega-rich people use terms like our real estate portfolio. Your parents own all of this property except maybe the house they gave you. I laughed right out loud at that. Honey, the house isn't even legally yours, never mind the rest of our real estate portfolio. Mail tampering is a crime, not a get-out-of-rent-free card, but there's a reason I refuse to rent a room with my landlord. I have a lot fewer protections as a tenant, and I don't like the power dynamic. I think everyone's the idiot. Weird to not disclose actual owner of the house. Not gonna lie, I got grossed out reading my parents are extremely hardworking, like as if every other working-class dual-income parents aren't including those living paycheck to paycheck. What are they trying to say? Everyone can be rich and privileged if they worked hard. The humble grandiosity for the circumstances of obviously accrued generational wealth that she played no part in apart from being on the receiving end of just makes them come off as such a shallow individual. Ironically love that their idea of making an earning early on is by simply sitting pretty and collecting rent money checks from daddy, like so much for the hard-working initiatives. Yeah, imagine being 18 years old and saying our real estate portfolio. The wording of the post shows just how entitled OP is. My dad owns it, eventually I'll own them. Honestly, if I was rich and my kid was acting that entitled, I'd be tempted to not give them the houses in the will just to teach them that you can't assume this crap. I, 38 female, am married to my husband, 42 male. I have 2 kids and he has one with his ex Alice, tween female. My husband has 5050 custody, so Alice is around a good chunk of the time. A few weeks ago, Alice started sneaking some of her Sanrio. She's obsessed with the brand plushies into the room she shares with my daughter. It was fairly obvious, but I didn't comment on it, nor did my husband. I really thought nothing of it, but my husband got a call from my ex. Apparently she's been wanting Alice to get rid of the toys because she's getting too old for them and wants to give them to younger family members. I think it's a bit cruel. My kids are older than Alice, and I don't force them to give away their plushies, unless it's obvious they don't care about them anymore, which Alice clearly does as she's attached. My husband doesn't really agree either, as he bought most of her collection and feels like he should have a say in what's going on with them. And he doesn't want to give them away if Alice still likes them. Is it wrong if I just don't comment on anything? My husband has made it clear to me he's not going to say anything as they're technically his toys, and they should be here anyways. I really don't find harm in letting Alice take them over here either, but then again, as much as I love her as my own, I'm not legally her parent and don't know if I should really get a say in this. Am I the idiot? She's only a tween. I'm 18 and still have some of mine lying around. Alice clearly has some attachment to the tidies and she'll know when it's time to let them go. Alongside that, X can't say what happens in your husband's house. Good communication and similar rules are always helpful when raising kids in different custody situations, though a fine. Letting her keep some toys, especially that your husband bought, is normal. Definitely not the idiot, though, to save yourself down the track. I'd let X know you'll be happy to keep the toys in your house instead. When I got married and moved out of my mother's house, I packed up my books, but I couldn't take them along because my husband was in the military. They were packed away neatly in waterproof totes in the basement. When my husband got out of the Navy, I tried to get my back only to find my mother had given them all away. I had 3/4 of the Animorphs series, dozens of Star Wars books, my silly witchcraft books. All in all, maybe 150 to 200 books were gone. She got rid of them because I was a wife now and didn't need silly children's books anymore. I'm 44 and married 23 years. She's been dead for 8 years. I still haven't forgiven her. Pretend you have no idea of the situation and let your husband take point. Alice is seeking to keep her beloved possessions safe, and your home is that safe place. It wouldn't surprise me if Alice is being told it's time that she grew up and stopped being a baby in order to shame her into sharing or giving away her beloved plushies. She needs a place where she can feel okay being a young girl and feel some autonomy over her belongings. I, male 31, am getting married to the love of my life, Parker, female 29. We've been together for 2 years, and a couple of weeks ago on our anniversary I proposed. I know it seems early, but I'm certain that she's my forever. Recently we were talking wedding plans, as we don't want anything crazy. Just something small and intimate, so we can go on a nice honeymoon. Because she's always wanted to see Japan, I brought up how I'd have my brother as my best man, and that's likely, as my only other friends are my best friend Morgan, female 28, and her fiancé Alex, male 29, and that Morgan and Alex would attend as regular guests. She got quiet and then said Morgan won't be attending at all as she doesn't want her there. For some backstory, Morgan and I met via online gaming 4 years ago. I was in a super dark place. We clicked and became fast friends. She introduced me to her fiancé and the three of us became friends. I became a lot closer with Morgan and she helped me do a total 180. She helped me quit my old job and pursue what I wanted. She forced me to sign up for dating apps at SEC. She helped me become the man Parker deserves. We had a weekly gaming session, and when I met Parker she was ecstatic for me. After Parker and I became official, I introduced them, and like Morgan had anticipated, Parker wasn't thrilled about my best friend being a female. Morgan offered many times to cut contact with me because she never wanted to stand between me and a chance at happiness, but I told her I'm a grown man and my girlfriend needs to deal with who I'm friends with. Morgan and I have never flirted, never had feelings for each other. She genuinely is just my best friend, and I envision her as more of a sister than anything. As Parker and I advanced in our relationship, Morgan and I drifted, but we still tried to do weekly gaming sessions, but I canceled it many times to spend time with Parker because I never wanted her to feel less important than Morgan. I'm pretty sure Parker planned dates maliciously on game night, but I don't really care because I value her over Morgan. So with that being said, I'm extremely annoyed that Parker still holds some sort of grudge and expects me not to invite my best friend to our wedding. I want to add Morgan lives in New York and I live in Vancouver, so we don't even hang out in person. We're strictly internet buddies. I tell Parker that she's being immature and inconsiderate of my feelings to want Morgan excluded, and that I love her more than anything, but she needs to respect my appreciation for Morgan. She won't talk to me now. So am I the idiot? Dear, Morgan and I have never hung out in real life yet. We were supposed to a few times, but her and Alex work very high-demand jobs, and she was pregnant with a high-risk baby. I was invited, as well as Parker, to their daughter's 6-month party, but a week before, Parker surprised me with a trip to NS the same week as the party, and I went with her. Not the idiot, but your fiancé sure is. You say she's the love of your life, but would someone who truly loves you block you from spending time with friends, especially online? Ask yourself, who else will she block you from? What if you get a female colleague and spend a lot of time with her? Will she ask you to quit? Also, does she have any male friends? It's pretty obvious your fiancé has some trust issues. Guarantee you this is not the only line she's going to draw. Ultimatums and silent treatment already, and you guys aren't even married yet. Opie, are you sure you want to marry someone who's trying to ruin your relationship with your best friend? Their gender is irrelevant. This is a massive red flag. Parker is never going to accept Morgan. I think you need to seriously consider in your life if you're willing to crap out your best friend forever, because that's where you're headed. Everyone's the idiot. Your engagement has come too soon. Not necessarily because an engagement 2 years in is particularly uncommon, but because you're clearly in a honeymoon phase, still with a woman you very clearly haven't learned how to communicate with. It's time to put wedding planning on ice and have some long, difficult conversations instead. I love her isn't enough. I, 25 female, had breast augmentation about a year ago. It wasn't some huge, drastic change. I just did it for myself to feel more confident. My boyfriend, 28 male, who I've been with for 3 years, was supportive through the whole thing. He even told me I didn't need the surgery, which was sweet. But ultimately it was my decision. Everything was fine for a while, but lately he's been making non-stop jokes about my boobs. At first I laughed along because I can take a joke, but now it's constant and is starting to really hurt. Here are a few examples. We're out with friends and he goes, "Careful, don't hug her too hard. Those things might pop." Cue everyone laughing awkwardly while I just forced a smile. He'll poke at my chest and say, "I'm just checking if they're still there," even in public. Last night we were watching TV and he randomly says, "Do you ever miss your real ones? Like seriously?" But the worst part, the one that hit me the hardest, was when we were at a friend's party. He was a few drinks in and out of nowhere he says, "At least if we have a GoPro we can sell her parts to pay rent." Everyone laughed and I stood there completely stunned. It was mortifying. I laughed along awkwardly because I didn't want to cause a scene, but inside I just wanted to cry. The thing is, I've told him multiple times that it's making me feel bad. I even told him that some of his jokes really hit hard for me emotionally, but he brushes it off and says, "I'm just kidding," or "Don't be so sensitive." The truth is, it's gotten to the point where his comments actually make me cry. I feel so bad about myself, and instead of making me feel confident, it's making me feel worse than before. I've cried more than once because of it, and I don't even think he understands how much it's affecting me. I know he doesn't mean to hurt me, but these jokes are cutting deeper than he realizes. I dread going out with him and our friends now because I'm constantly worried he'll make another joke at my expense. It's exhausting, and it's starting to really mess with my self-esteem. Now I'm wondering, am I being too sensitive? Is this my fault for taking it too personally? I just don't know anymore. Am I the idiot for getting mad at him and telling him to stop making jokes about me? Not the idiot. Mom, contrary to what you think, he meant to hurt you with those jokes, and he doesn't only dislike the fact that you had them done, he hates you too. He's humiliating you in front of your friends multiple times and has disregarded your feelings about it. If you cried in front of him, it would make him happy, because then he'd know his plan to destroy your self-confidence work. Break up with him and don't look back. Oh my God, I think you're right. He didn't want Opie to feel confident, so he was against her having the implants, and now when she has them, he's constantly trying to make her feel bad about it. Girl, he wants to hurt and humiliate you. Does it matter why? Get out of this relationship before your self-esteem is permanently compromised. Does anyone get the feeling Opie's boyfriend is trying to get Opie to break up with him so he isn't the bad guy in this situation? Or has my morning coffee not worked its magic yet? He should have broken up with you after you got implants, but he was too cowardly. Now he's a resentful wuss making insulting jokes about you in public. Dump his butt and move on. You deserve better than him. I have 2 children with my late ex. Colin, my son, is now 27. And my daughter is now 25. Colin and I broke up while I was pregnant with our daughter, but he remained a part of their lives until his passing just 6 months after our daughter was born. We hadn't worked out as partners, but we got along okay. Just very different people who couldn't make a relationship work and had kids very early in our relationship. Colin's family were in my children's lives from the start and remained a part of their lives long after he was gone. We never got along, but they adored my children and my children adored them in return. Their favorite thing was the week they spent with his family each summer. When my daughter was 7 and my son was 9, I met my husband. We married after 2.5 years of dating, and we'd already lived together for a year. My husband has no children of his own. We had none together. He was a very loving stepdad to my kids. My kids and him have a nice relationship, but neither of them call him dad, and neither wanted to be adopted by him, which did come up a year into our marriage. He asked. I wanted to find out what the children wanted and spoke to them. They said no. This was not something they later asked for or wanted. My daughter is getting married next year, and she asked me if I would walk her down the aisle. I immediately said yes and was so moved by the fact she felt I was the best and only person for the job. She even told me how much it meant to her that I never erased her dad when we weren't even together when he passed. She said I always put them first and I'd been the best mom. I cried so hard. She asked her brother to dance with her in honor of their dad. My husband was upset he wasn't asked to walk her alongside me, and he was hurt that I accepted without suggesting we should both do it. I explained that my daughter had her reasons to ask me. Then he mentioned the dance in honor of her dad and how she wasn't even doing that with him. I told him I was sorry he was feeling so hurt. He told me he felt like all the little things she asked him to do were just as a way to keep the peace instead of her truly wanting him to have a role in her wedding. I'm still not sure what these things were, and I did ask, but he wasn't happy about them. He told me I should take a stand and insist he be included, or I don't walk her down the aisle. I told him I wasn't willing to let my daughter down or myself. I told him it was very special to me and my daughter. He told me I'm not honoring our vows if I do this. Am I the idiot if I walk her down the aisle? Completely not the idiot. For my wedding, I asked my mother to be my matron of honor because frankly she was an incredible mother. My parents were separated since I was a child. Dad walked me down the aisle, but I wanted a special place for Mom. If this is how your daughter wants to honor you at her wedding, you should let her, and know how special your relationship is. Ask your husband if he were to do this what role he thinks you should have. I'm genuinely curious to his logic here. I say this as someone who didn't even have a good relationship with my stepdad growing up. I can truly understand how hurt he'd be that he treated these kids as his own, and on a big day for her he isn't even really included. Of course that doesn't mean OP should have said no, but it does mean I think we should at least acknowledge that he can have hurt feelings too. People have this thing with step-parents where they're supposed to love and treat the child as their own while also not making any decisions for them, not punishing them, and also not having any hurt feelings when they treat them like crap.